Hi, Steve here from Divorcing Japan, and today I'm going to tell you about the things that frustrated me the most about the Japanese divorce mediation system. Oh my gosh. But it's not all bad. I'm going to tell you some of the positive things as well near the end of this video. I wish I had this kind of information when I went through it, because man, was it hard. So some of the things that made me angry and frustrated during the mediation process. You go into the room and you're faced with two mediators, and these mediators will be ex-professionals or retired people of an elderly status. So there'll be a man and a woman, and this is to balance the gender aspect of the mediation process. Usually these retired professionals will be from professions such as psychology, social work, or even education, so like retired teachers. And as a teacher myself, I find it a little bit worrying to be mediated upon by some of the teachers I've worked with in the past. Okay, so the mediators have a lot of power, and so it's actually a very difficult situation. I found it very difficult because I found that all eyes were on me when I went into the room, and I'd heard stories from other people who'd been through mediation that they are literally watching and clocking your every move. They are looking for anything that can be reported back to the judge who's going to make the final decision. Some of the things are very difficult to deal with, and you're hearing them for the first time, and it's kind of set up like that. I find it very sad because there is no understanding in this situation, as far as I could feel, for the fact I hadn't seen my kids for 6 months, and I desperately wanted to see them again, and that I was about to lose my house. And I felt that the gravity of the situation, from my point of view, was worth more, and that I should have to say more, and I should be able to present more things. But as I found out through the process, most of the things I asked for were not really taken care of, or were not really heard, and I was just more of a guinea pig having to run around and do a lot of things and meet a lot of demands and expectations from the opposition. I felt like my job as a father was completely minimized to nothing. Like, you are no longer a father anymore because the kids are no longer your concern, because custody is going to go to the mother. I couldn't understand why this was already decided. We'd just started the mediation process, and that hurt me a lot, to know that the process that I was about to go into had already made decisions before we'd even started. I wasn't asked what I wanted as a father, and I wasn't allowed to give an opinion on how I saw my children being brought up. Even I can see my kids now, once the divorce is finalized, with there being no kind of penalty to back up visitation. I am scared that once the divorce is done and dusted, I won't be able to see my kids, and that seeing my kids now is just a show for the court and the mediators. Another thing that made me frustrated is that I had questions that I wanted to ask my partner, and it had to be asked through the mediators. And so I would ask a question, and often the answer I felt that I got wasn't the true answer. It was more of an answer designed to paint me as a sort of person. So once you ask a question in mediation, they get the answer back to you, and then that's where it stops. There's no chance for you to retaliate or give your own opinion or give your own side of the story. So it's actually a very clever system, and I would say, learning from that, don't ask many questions, because you're going to get answers that are going to hit you the first time, and they're going to surprise you then, probably not going to be the answers that you expect. And those answers have probably been crafted very carefully by the other team to paint you in a certain way without actually kind of saying anything. And so I would suggest that in that situation, less questions is better in the mediation process. Another thing that frustrated me was the tone. I just felt that the tone was kind of patronizing. I felt that I was not part of the conversation. I felt that I was not really respected as a person there, and I wasn't really there to negotiate an equal and fair divorce. To be honest, every time I didn't agree with something in the mediation process, I felt that the mediators looked at me like I was wasting their time, or I was being a burden on the timeline. I felt that there was a lot of moments where you're just expected to agree to make sure that the whole process goes through. And let me explain something to put that into some kind of context, because if you can't agree within the 10 mediation sessions that you're given, then it will go to the judge court case, which means that you present your side and she presents her side, and the judge will make the final decision. That can be very bad, because you can end up losing everything, because traditionally here they still will side with the mother on pretty much everything she says. So I've given my opinion about the mediation process and the frustrations that I had with it. But I wanted to check out some other people, and I didn't want to ask some foreigners because I didn't want this view to just be from the foreigner's point of view. I asked around some Japanese people who have gone through the mediation process, and some of the things they told me were quite surprising. The first person I asked, the main comment was that the mediators don't listen to you. The feeling was that during the mediation process, they were often interrupted or dismissed when they were trying to make a point that was valuable to them. Another thing was they felt that the pressure was on the time to settle quickly, not to actually get it right. Another person said it was like emotional blackmail, like that they were just expected to do what the court said, otherwise they would lose everything. And the final comment I got, which is one that rings most true with me, is that the mediators felt like they were from another era, and that their age category meant that they sided with more traditional Japanese stereotypes, like the child automatically just goes with the mother no matter what, and any discussion after that wasn't really heard. And the final thing I would like to add to this, to give you this heads up warning, is when I went to mediation, it really felt like I was being told off by the head teacher of a school for doing something wrong. I felt like a puppy sitting next to a pile of poo, and I didn't feel like I could really get out of it. It is a long process, and it does take months, sometimes years to go through. And it is silently very, very tiring. It's something that's always in the back of your mind. And I hope for your benefit, you're able to go through the process smoothly. I hope that some of these points in the video today have been helpful. And finally, I'm going to talk about something positive. This mediation process is difficult, and the mediators are just there doing their job. The lawyers are just doing their job. And if you strip all that away, at the end of the day, the mediation process can be a savior for you. Because if you go to that high court process where one judge decides everything, you could lose everything. So even though the mediation process is hard, the one thing that you can take away from it is if you can hold your cool and you can be expecting the unexpected and you can be the best you, then you have a chance to walk away with more than if you went to the final stages. So with that in mind, go out there and be strong, be good, look after yourself.